Just because you kill it at work and you're successful on paper doesn't mean the people you care about and love the most actually want to be around you. Now, it's not because you don't love them and it's not because you don't care, but because the pressure that you have carried for years internally has to go somewhere. But don't worry, that's exactly what I'm going to help you fix in this video, so stick with me. Because when emotions arise and tough conversations occur, the pressure that you carry comes out in snappiness, short answers, defensive remarks, or you continue to burden it yourself by going silent. What happens is the anger or the intense environment that you've created gets directed at the people that you love the most. And this pattern tends to begin in a moment that looks something like this. It's been a long day. You've been answering messages, taking calls, handling meetings, putting out fires everywhere. And now the day's done. You close your laptop, but your mind technically doesn't leave work just because you close the screen. Your mind is going a mile a minute and hasn't actually had the time to turn itself off like you did with your computer. Maybe you're on your phone and you're checking your email, you're checking Slack. And so what happens is you bring all that pressure and that intensity into the relationship. Your partner starts to tell you about their day and you're like, yes, you're nodding. Yeah. That's crazy. Lame answers. Not present, totally disconnected. And who feels it? Your partner. From her perspective, she's trying to connect with someone who she can't really reach. So she'll say something like this: I feel like you're never really here, or you're never really present with me, or you never really listen. And your mind immediately starts to react. Something tightens inside of you. It's like defense mode happens. I like to say your attorney mode is turned on, and the thoughts become, what did I do now? Oh gosh, not again. Can't she see how much I'm going through? How much work I do? And by the way, totally valid, right? That's your experience. But her perspective and what she may be trying to say is, I miss you. I feel alone with you, even if you're technically here. But again, all you're hearing is, I'm failing at home, that you don't do enough, and that you're the problem. And from there, the argument kind of gets worse. You're ping-ponging back and forth until someone finally slams down the hammer to finish the point and win the game. But did you really win if you blew up on her, or you both shut down and had to separate and you can't even speak to each other? Like, who really won that game? And just because you understand every word and you were able to list off the facts doesn't mean you were actually listening to what she truly said or the impact that your actions had on the relationship. But the pain doesn't disappear just because the conversation ended. It just becomes part of the next one. And the way you respond to these hard conversations doesn't just happen accidentally. You see, men were taught and rewarded and respected for learning how to push through discomfort, push things down. They were taught to stay useful, solve the problem, and don't let emotions interfere with that. And that way of operating is what led you to the success that you have today. Because at work, when something happens, you're the person that they call on, that they lean on. You solve the problem and you get things done and continually move forward. And so you apply that same energy and that same system to life at home. But the problem is, men were not taught how to deal with pressure inside of themselves when the conversation becomes emotional. You weren't taught how to recognize what's going on inside of you, how to communicate it effectively. And so when you can't stay present during those tough conversations and sit through that discomfort, it comes out sideways and affects the people you love the most. You try to solve it the way you solve things at work. You try to fix things, you defend your intentions, and then of course, when nothing works, you shut down or you blow up and you get angry. And until you can start to understand the capacity of what you're feeling and what you're dealing with internally and remain present when pressure, emotions, and stress arrive, learn how to communicate without defending or disappearing, the same conflict and pattern will remain until you learn how to do it differently. No matter how hard you promise to be better next time. And if you want to understand what is actually going on underneath the actions and learn how to actually change it, that's exactly what I'm teaching you inside my upcoming masterclass. Why pressure shows up at home. Inside, I'm going to show you why capable men lose themselves at home and why trying to control the action is not enough. And I'll show you exactly what to change so that your partner can start experiencing you differently so that you can rebuild trust, connection, and intimacy. You can register using the link below. Just click on it, register, and I'll see you there. Now, the cleanest example that I can show you of this in real time are some of my two all-time favorite characters. There's Aragorn from The Lord of the Rings, and then there's Tony Soprano from The Sopranos. Let's take a look at them. Aragorn, King of Gondor, he represents grounded authority. Everyone online calls him what modern male masculinity should truly look like. He can feel grief, fear, pressure, uncertainty, all without losing himself, his temper, his emotions. And he's able to speak clearly, articulate his feelings and what's going on, and lead with presence and confidence despite all that's going on and all the literal pressure that he has to deal with. He's the man. Now, on the other hand, there's Tony Soprano. Now, Tony has enormous power in his community, but every single person, including his kids and his partner, walks on eggshells, afraid of what mood he's actually in, let alone the people that actually work with him. Even his therapist is literally on edge with him. And the problem is they never know when his pain and his stress and his problems are going to become their problem. So, two different types of men, two powerful men in their respected communities, but they lead very different lives. And which one would you rather be, Tony Soprano or the King of Gondor? Now, before we go any further, I want to make something clear. The goal is not for you to carry all of the responsibility yourself. Everything that's happening inside of your relationship. Your partner has her own emotions, her own triggers, her own responsibility. She has her own patterns that show up in conflict that she needs to own and address herself. It's not all on you, but you can't control her side. You only can control your side of the street and lead by example. And 9 times out of 10, that brings her back to the table in the conversation and brings that closeness, trust, and intimacy that you're looking for. Now, a lot of men were taught that strength just equals providing. You have to protect your family. You have to provide for them. You have to endure, survive, push things down, keep your emotions under control, and never show them because it's weakness. And to be fair, some of those traits are real strengths. And we've talked about that. It's what made you successful. But the other side of the coin shows the real definition of strength because it combines your inner strength. Strength is being able to remain in tough conversations without making the other person pay for your discomfort in the moment. It's being able to listen and hear someone's disappointment without immediately taking it personal and becoming disrespected by it. It's feeling anger internally without the need to unleash your temper on the people you love the most. And that's exactly what I mean when I talk about becoming a modern day warrior. Not a man who feels nothing and suppresses everything, but a man who can feel deeply, express himself without punishing other people and making it their fault and their responsibility. It's taking accountability and ownership and leadership for your own emotional reactions and having the intelligence to handle it differently. Because when strength only means control, suppression, discipline, force, hustle, that pressure never disappears. And this is the exact pattern that I help my clients with. I want to tell you about a client of mine named Daniel. Daniel is intelligent, driven, successful, pushes himself to the limits, high demand, high stress, high pressure. But his answer to stress was always more discipline, more pressure on himself. But what that led to was just more burnout. And when it came to his situation at home with his wife, everything crashed. He would finish work with all this pressure, all this stress, so much so that he dreaded actually walking into the house because he knew his wife was peaceful and had a good day, and he was coming in with all this tension. And so when he got home, she'd ask a simple question like, how was your day? Or, hey, what's going on with you? And he would just immediately unload everything. Simple questions, big response. He might become irritated, defensive, or just full-blown angry. Other times he didn't know how to express what he was feeling, so he just shut down and iced her out completely. And so through our work together, we learned how to rework this and give him the tools necessary to start leading it home and dealing with all the stress and the pressure that he's dealing with on a day-to-day basis. We started to dive and uncover what was underneath all that stress and tension that he was dealing with. He began to learn how to deal with everything differently and started to notice before it started to take over in his body and learn to actually stop the response and communicate effectively. Now, this doesn't mean every single pattern just disappeared overnight, but he finally had the tools and the ability to not just let go of the stress and the pressure he had from work, but rework his emotional patterning and his emotional responses that he had been carrying his entire life. And that's honestly the real work, not just trying to solve the problem with the same tools you have at work, but going inward, uncovering why you're reacting this way, how to give yourself more emotional capacity, and start leading through your actions to actually make a change and a difference and an effort so your partner starts to realize and see it. And when you start to develop that kind of capacity, home starts to feel different. You can start to show up, communicate better, feel more, express your needs more, and lead the relationship back to where you truly want it to be. And this is the work that I do with my clients one-on-one. We look at the specific patterns that are happening for you because every person has a different response, different emotional patterning, and they express differently. So if you're interested in diving deep into this work for yourself and truly getting the results that you want, then I want you to book a call on my calendar. What we'll do is just build out a personalized roadmap for where you are right now and exactly where you want to be and the steps that it takes to get there. So go ahead, click the link below, pick a time that works best, and I'll see you this week. And lastly, stay tuned for this next video because I'm going to dive deep to exactly what's happening underneath your reaction so you can start to change it for good.